welcome back. This is Inspector Dave, the RV Fire Marshal. And it's trying to be spring here in Illinois, and it's time to get the beast out of its winter slumber. You're going to be going through your list of all your things of getting your camper ready to go on that next trip. And as we're going through the camper and getting it all ready, de-winterizing it, getting it ready for the trip, you always want to make sure that fire safety is your number one priority when you're getting your camper ready. So what do I mean by fire safety? I mean, get into your camper, check your fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers? Yeah, more than just the one that came with it. You should have the fire extinguisher that came with the camper. I have another fire extinguisher underneath the sink in my kitchen. I got a fire extinguisher in my bedroom, so I have a way of getting out of my bedroom in case there's a fire. And I also have a fire extinguisher in my outside kitchen in the back of the camper there, so if anything happens outside the camper, I have another fire extinguisher. If you tow a car or you have your tow vehicle, you should be able to have another fire extinguisher inside your car in case something happens to your trailer. You can run out there quickly without having to go through your trailer to find a fire extinguisher. So what are you going to do? You're going to grab your fire extinguisher and you're going to visually inspect it. You're going to check to make sure that it's not a very old extinguisher. I mark my extinguisher, so when I bought it, I wrote down the date and the year. They say that these fire extinguishers can last up to 10 years. I take a look at it. I make sure that my gauge is okay. I make sure that it feels secure. There's no damage to the actual extinguisher itself. No rust, no dents. I make sure my pin is there and my handles are secure. So probably in about 7 years, I'm going to replace this because they're not very expensive, and it's always good to have a trustworthy extinguisher there when you need it. Now you got to remember that your fire extinguisher is sitting in its holder, and as you're traveling down the road, it's kind of shaking and bouncing. Now remember when you cook and you scoop up that flour out and then you tap it to make the flour settle into the measuring cup? Fire extinguisher powder is the same way. As it's bouncing down the road, that powder is settling at the bottom of the fire extinguisher. So I recommend a couple times a year, you're going to take your fire extinguisher out and you're going to invert it, shake it. You can feel the powder drop down. Just give it a little loose, kind of agitate it a few times, loosen up that powder. So when you do pull that handle and squeeze it, you're going to have powder coming out, not just air. All right, so there you go. There's your fire extinguisher. Now the next thing you see is up above my head is I have my smoke detector taken apart. You're going to take a look at your smoke detector. You're going to pull out that battery. You're going to change the battery, and I write the date that I changed the battery on, just like I had on my fire extinguisher, the date that I purchased it. Now I'm going to put the date that I changed the battery in my smoke detector. Once I change the battery, I'm going to kind of blow out the little, photo sensor that actually checks for smoke or dust or a little spider that might have taken up home in your detector over the winter. So kind of give it a blowout. You can either just blow it or you just get a can of compressed air and you just kind of blast out that little chamber to make sure that there's no dust or any type of spiders in there. Once you do that, you're going to close it up and press the test button and make sure your smoke detector works. Now remember, smoke detectors have a life of approximately 10 years. So again, I have written down on my smoke detector March of 2019 because that's when I got this coach. So in about 10 years, I'm going to replace it. Or if I see signs that, the plastic is yellowing so much or it's falling apart, you want to just replace them. Okay. Next thing you want to do is you got your carbon monoxide / propane. Now mine is a combo unit, and you want to check to make sure that is in good condition. When you go through your checks, make sure that the light is illuminated, that is pulling its DC power from the coach or from your trailer. Now, that, again, you want to check to see what is the recommended replacement. Some of these units are ranging anywhere from 7 years to 10 years. So you want to check specifically your detector unit. Now, I'm a little more cautious when it comes to smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and my propane system. I decided to add a just regular carbon monoxide detector to the coach. I'm going to put that according to the recommendations of this manufacturer. Again, you can get any detector that you feel comfortable with. This just happens to have some of the things that I want out of a carbon monoxide detector, such as a 10-year battery. So this detector is going to last for 10 years. This battery is designed to last for 10 years, or to give you a signal when it's time to replace it. So now I don't have to change the battery every year. This one's good for 10 years. And then, of course, after the battery goes, it's 10 years, time to replace the unit anyhow. This specific detector has a LED readout. So this is going to tell me exactly how many parts per million of carbon monoxide are in my coach at a time. So, you know, if it's going off, I can look and say, oh my goodness, you know, it's 10 parts per million or whatever. It's time to get out of the coach. All right. So this is going to be mounted near my bedroom, and the recommendations for this detector are going to be up at the same height like a smoke detector on the wall. Okay. So again, check your fire extinguisher. Change the battery in your smoke detector. Check the age of your smoke detector. Replace it if it's not working, or if it's more than 10 years old. Check your carbon monoxide / propane monitor. Again, check the date on that. Manufacturer's recommendation for replacement. Make sure that it's being powered by the DC, and give it a push on the test button. Make sure it's chirping. If you decide to have an additional carbon monoxide detector, check the battery, or upgrade to a 10-year lifetime battery, and again, test that to make sure that's working properly. Now, there's a couple other things that you should do that are not exactly fire safety, but it's really important for the safety of your vehicle, and that is check all your propane fired appliances, your heater, your water heater, and any connections you might have for your outdoor kitchen. Any connections, get that soapy water, put it around the connections, turn your propane on, see if you have any bubbles, any leaks, and tighten those as you see fit. Again, run your water heater. Sometimes during the winter, some spiders like to get into the manifold area of your water heater, and you might have a flare-up of flames, like I did when I checked it over the weekend. And thank goodness I was there. I cleaned it out. I made sure that I shut the propane off, cleaned everything out, and it wasn't that bad. It was just a little flare-up, and just kind of, shut it down, and it was fine, and then cleaned it out, and it ran properly. Also, take a look at your electrical connections, like your battery, your electrical components that are by the battery where everything's connected. Make sure that when you do all this, of course, you don't have any power going to your camper. But over time, your camper shakes and rattles, and some of these connections can come unloose, and you might have loose wiring, and then of course loose wiring causes arcing, and arcing causes fire, and we want to try to avoid fires in our coach at all times. So if you have any loose fittings, connections, tighten those up so you don't have any loose wires popping out as you're bouncing down the road. Okay, so that is my spring fire safety tune-up, and again, hit the notification bell, give me a thumbs up, and it's getting camping season, so you're going to be seeing some more fire safety information from the RV Fire Marshal. So have a safe trip, and we'll see you out on the campgrounds.